In this video, I want to share with you kind of an interesting technique, something I've never really seen demonstrated, but something that's definitely useful in certain circumstances. Now, this particular design is one of our new football heart decal designs. And the way we created this design, we created it and designed it in such a way to minimize the number of templates we have to use. And so what I want to do is I want to demonstrate to you how we're actually going to go about creating this design. So we're going to do it in four different colors, but we're going to use two templates. This first template, we're using SS16 stones along with SS10 stones. So what we're going to do is pull back our hot fix tape here, and let's go ahead and start with our SS16 stones. You always start with your larger stone first. In this case, we're using black diamond, and we'll go ahead and brush those stones in. Now your stones, they should go in pretty easy. Shouldn't have to force them too much. If you're struggling with getting your stones in your template, then you definitely want to take a look at the template material that you're using, but also more importantly the stone size that you're making your templates. Once you get it dialed in the right way, they should just fall right into place with very, very minimal effort. As you can see there, we placed all those stones. Not much effort at all. Okay, so we got to get rid of that. One last extra stone, push all the extras out of our way. So that takes care of our first color there. So now we got to go to our second color, which in this case is your smoked topaz. And this is where you do have to be a little bit careful. As part of your technique, you don't want to accidentally knock out your SS16 stones. So initially you probably will. But once you refine your technique, it won't be so bad. And all we're going to do is just very gently get these smoked topaz stones put in place. Okay, and again, you can see how easy they're going in. This is not something that we should have to force in. We're just going to just gently, light pressure, get those stones into place. And you can see how nice and easy those stones all fell into place. And we're just lightly brushing the excess stones away. The darker stones are a little bit challenging because we can't really tell if there's stones on top of stones. So sometimes what I'll do is once I get my stones placed, I'll just lightly, I kind of look at it at an angle and lightly go over it with my finger. And I can usually tell pretty easily if there are any extra stones on top of one another. And there are a couple right there. But otherwise, just go over, everything seems pretty smooth, so I think that's pretty well taken care of, and we'll go ahead and lift those stones up out of the way. So we'll just lay down our transfer tape, go ahead and pick those stones up, make sure that we don't leave any behind, which we didn't. Perfect. Alright, so now here's where the fun part comes in, where I think it's, again, I've never really seen it demonstrated before, so it's just an idea, okay? Just something to get you thinking. So here's our second template. Let's go ahead and get it in place here. We're using our transfer board with our registration corner. So there is our second template. Now, this template has two different colors that we're going to apply to it, but they're using all one stone color. So what are we going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is this. I am going to take a piece of hot fix tape, just a little piece of scrap that I have sitting here, and I'm going to place it right over the design. And I hope you can see this in the video, or at least get an idea of what I'm going to do here. So again, this is just the initial thing. Once we've done this, we can save this little piece of tape with this template. But what we're going to do is we're just going to mark where these crystal stones are. So there it is. There it is, there it is, there it is. That's where those laces are. And then we're just going to kind of draw a little connecting dot, right? Nothing, I'm no artist, right? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take this and we're going to cut that shape. So let me cut this shape out. And again, once we've created this little plug, if you will, then we'll save it with our template. So the next time we go to make a bunch of these, we don't have to recreate our plug. So we just have this little piece of tape that we put over where those crystal stones are. And we do want to make sure that we place it carefully so that all of our holes where the crystal stones go are covered. So now that we have our little plug in place, let's just go ahead and drop in our red stones for our heart, and we'll fill those in. So obviously, because we have our plug, these stones won't fit in our football part of it. We'll go ahead and brush those in. And again, they should brush in nice and easy, just like that. No problems. If you're struggling with getting your stones to get into your templates, then you should definitely consider how you're creating your template. And the other thing too to consider, believe it or not, is the type of stone you're using. There is a difference in stones in terms of the way they're shaped. And some stones work more easily when you're brushing than others. So now that we have all of our heart stones in place, we can remove our little plug. We'll put that to the side, and then we can use our next color. And what I wanted to do, just to complicate matters, I guess, is to use some rhine studs instead of rhinestones. And I just wanted to show you, because people ask, well, do rhine studs work well with templates and what have you too? And of course they do. When you're working with rhine studs, there is a little bit of different technique. Rhine studs are quite light, and so they do tend to fall out of your holes. You want to use very, very light pressure. So they do work well. It probably does take a bit more effort and a bit more finesse. But once you've played around with it a little bit, it's just like anything. Once you learn what you're doing, you're good to go. All right, so you can see that all those, see there, that one just popped right out of there. It was in there and then it popped right back out. Just because I used a little bit too much pressure, I guess. So we'll get that last one. There we go. No, you still don't want to go in there. See that? All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. If all else fails, just click and drag with your finger and get it into place. Sometimes that's just as easy to do it that way when you got one that's being stubborn. Okay, if we were using rhinestones, these would fall right into place a lot easier. So I just wanted to give you a little insight of using different types of materials and how one does differently than another. So we're just going to go ahead and slide those by hand right into place there. This one here is upside down, so I just grab my tweezer and drop it right in. All right, so now we can just get rid of these little extras here. We don't need those. Now in this process of brushing in our rhine studs, I actually knocked one red stone out. Actually, it looks like maybe I knocked a couple out. So what we want to do is go ahead and make sure we remove those. So this one is just an extra stone there. So we get rid of that one. But right here, we knocked out one red stone. So I'll go ahead and get rid of that. And we'll grab a red stone from the pile here. And go ahead and just replace it. Okay, so that takes care of that. All right, so now we have all of our stones into place. So now we can go ahead and just take our transfer tape and go ahead and pick up this second batch. And of course, everything will line up perfectly because we have our transfer tape hinged just right. Now there is actually a rhine stud right there that he don't belong. So I'm just going to pull back our tape. Let's go ahead and lift up all of our stones, I guess. Do that first. Make sure all these stones get picked up. Just push on your finger right along those edges. Also right in here. Make sure right along these laces right there. So a couple of studs that anytime there's a color next to a color, we want to make sure And then I'm just going to grab my tweezers here and get rid of that one rhinestone that doesn't belong and put it back. And you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's a couple of stones that are out of place when I did that, so I just make sure they line back up into the holes. And that is our finished decal. So it's just a little bit different technique. And again, it's just a matter of getting it down pat. But once you do, it's just another option of not using so many templates. And I really like the look of the different stone sizes too. Just gives you a little different look than just using all one stone size. But by introducing that extra stone size, the little plug technique comes in very handy in different situations. So think about different ways where you could create a plug and then dump in one color, pull your plug and dump in that second color. Then you won't have to create a template just for those few stones. So just think about that when you're cutting out your templates. And I hope you enjoyed this one and learned a little something. Thanks for watching.